It's May 26th, 2012, and one of the most important prophecies of our times is about to start to unfold right before our eyes. I want to read a few of the headlines from the newspaper headlines over the last month or so. It says, U.S. sees Iran attacks as likely if Israel strikes. Another one, plans to strike Iran ready, says U.S.-Israel envoy. Israel revives military option after Obama rejects its nuclear demands of Iran. New U.S. battle strategy against Iran in U.S. movements and Israeli drill. More than 60 nuclear experts at work building Iranian nuclear bomb. Iran plans a low-grade nuclear attack on Israel. U.S. military drills day one after strike on Iran deploys F-22s to Gulf. Gantz IDF and other armies ready to strike Iran's nuclear capabilities. Russia. Iran set to counter U.S.-Israeli strike against Iran. U.S.-led naval drill. Report. Israel could attack Iran just before U.S. elections. Russian arms shipment en route to Syria. Russian anti-terror troops arrive in Syria. U.S. considering support for arming Syrian rebels. Syrian rebels get influx of arms with Gulf neighbors, money U.S. coordination. U.S. prepping plan to arm Syrian rebels. And the list goes on. If you do a search of some of these headlines, what's going on in the Middle East right now, the friction and the conflict between the U.S., Iran, and Israel, and also what's going on in Syria, which is like the spark that's setting all of this off, is eye-opening when we consider what I think is probably the most important prophecy that we are living right at the beginning of it, or it's already started in a sense, and that is the prophecy in the book of Daniel and chapter 8. Please read Daniel and chapter 8. I'm not going to go over it in detail now because in some of my other videos, if you just search through my videos, you'll see that I talk about Daniel 8 and the relationship or the conflict between the U.S. and Iran. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just talking about a prophecy that it says will happen. Now, in the prophecy, it talks about this nation, this power that comes from the West around the whole surface of the earth without touching the ground or without touching the earth. And then it comes and it tramples on this other country or countries, which is described as Media-Persia. And we know that Media-Persia is Iran. The Iranians call themselves Persians. Their language is Farsi. It's a Persian language. It is the Persian language. And so this other nation that comes from the other side of the earth, who could it be? You're going to see when you read Daniel 8, if you haven't read it already, that the beginning of the prophecy starts off with a symbolism, a vision that Daniel received, and he saw a goat coming from the west, and where Persia is, he saw a ram with two horns. The goat comes and breaks the horns of the ram, and then the archangel Gabriel tells him that the goat is Greece and the ram is Media-Persia. So if you believe that the goat is actually the nation of Greece, which is going through the worst financial breakdown and meltdown of its history, has basically no power at all, or if you believe as I do, that Greece is a symbol of the United States, the perfect symbol for what the United States is. The New Testament was written in Greek because it was the lingua franca, the universal language of that time. The United States, American English, is the lingua franca, the universal language that people speak now. The Statue of Liberty is the new Colossus of Rhodes. In Greece is where democracy was born. The U.S. claims to be the nation that has so much democracy. the parallels between the United States and Greece are a long list. I won't say they're endless, but it's a long list. Just the architecture of Washington, D.C. is Greco-Roman. You can see that a lot of the buildings there in Washington, D.C. look like the Parthenon and some of the buildings in ancient Greece. And also the history of the United States as a small nation, and then growing and becoming powerful, and then becoming corrupt and perverted, and its government is so utterly perverted and corrupt right now, and taking all the rights away from its people, and it's now having major problems in the U.S. And so just do some comparison and you'll see why it definitely could be that the United States is Greece in Daniel 8. And it makes sense that it would come around the whole surface of the earth without touching the earth to trample Persia, Iran, and see what happens after that. And that you'll see why I say it's the most important prophecy of our time, because the second half, or the last third actually, of that prophecy talks about the anti-Messiah, the beast, the son of perdition, the man who will deceive most of the world during the last 3.5 years before Yeshua of Nazareth, the Messiah, comes back to earth. The man who will deceive everybody, the beast, the anti-Messiah, the son of perdition, it talks about him during the last third of Daniel 8. And so this conflict between the U.S., Israel, and Iran is so important, because when it starts to happen, it is the trigger, it's the spark, it is the unfolding of the events that are going to lead us into the last 3.5 years. So I invite you and I encourage you to read Daniel 8.